There is a stillness here, the kind you only find before the world exhales. A glint of polished wood, the high arch of gymnasium light struggling against the dying day. A gust of distant applause fades into the hush. The ball is in hand. 1 breath, then 2, then 3. And in that moment suspended, there is no clock, no pressure, no image of what has been or what lies ahead. Only her, only Diana. We remember the moments, the buzzer beaters, the titles, the medals, but what lingers is far quieter. A glance, a shoulder's tilt, a stride across the hardwood that does not ask for room, but simply takes it. Some players play the game, others command it, and then there are the chosen few, whose very presence bends the narrative to their will. Diana Taurasi is not a basketball player. Not really. She is the breath between beats, the calm before the motion, the silence that echoes after the net sways. Tonight, we curl ourselves into her story, into a life threaded through victories and vows, defiance and discipline, joy and flame. This is not simply history. This is mythology smoothed in sneakers and sweatbands, in timeouts and twilight drives home. We begin with her Nima melody, Now But Once, just a whisper bouncing down a driveway in Chino, California. Just a little girl with a ball bouncing off cracked pavement long after the sun had gone in. All that moved on that suburban street was the thump of rubber and the rustle of her dreams chasing it. Her father, Mario, had played professional soccer in Italy. Her mother, Liliana, was Argentine. They had come here searching for something steadier, but their daughter wasn't built for stillness. She was built for rhythm, built for motion, built to burn. Diana Lorraine Taurasi entered the world on June 11, 1982. Some births are soft. The world eases into them. Hers felt a bit like a spark flicked from match to match. There was always a tension beneath her ease, a current under the calm. The streets of Chino don't echo with fame. They don't beg for attention. Like many American towns, it fades at sunset. But in Diana's orbit, even small places hold vast potential. Even a narrow court dug into the side of a house is enough. Enough to begin writing something that would one day feel inevitable. Her older sister, Jessica, often stood guard nearby while Diana practiced past bedtime. Not in the way of supervision, but as that first quiet audience. Her first witness. Diana would play, study, mimic, push, then play more. If she missed a shot, she'd take it again and again. She was never the tallest, never the fastest, but maybe always the most certain. Certainty, it is not loud, usually. It lies in the way her form never rushed, in how she moved before others even thought to, in how defeat did not confound her, but beckoned another pattern to read, another weakness to erase. There are athletes, and then there are constants. Through heartbreak or headline, buzzer beaters or broken bones, Diana Taurasi did not flinch. It's why even now, years and records and trophies later, the recollection of her doesn't bring noise. It brings the quiet, the moment before the free throw, the lull before the pass, the stillness that touches everything she's touched. We think of her titles, yes, the Olympic golds, the MVP runs, the WNBA legend status carved into stone. But the real story is softer. A young girl spinning a ball on her finger in the twilight. Shadows of Chino, the final seconds unwinding into overtime while her face doesn't blink. The long bus rides as a Yukon freshman pretending not to feel uncertainty, masking it with trademarks of calm. The quiet is where she's been all along, and slowly, as we close our eyes, let us begin to trace her silhouette through time-soft chalk against a gym wall, whispering her story under the breath of history. The first footfalls echo now. Let them guide us home. The earth never waited for Diana Taurasi to arrive. It moved, as it always did, restless, shifting in quiet ways, in loud ones, like the California soil under her feet, always barely still, always on the verge of motion. Chino is not the kind of place that shouts its stories. It's the type of town that hums them softly, steadily beneath the breath of orange groves and long drives home from corner stores. Diana came into this world with that hum inside her. Born to Mario and Liliana on a June afternoon in 1982, she was the youngest of two daughters. Her father, a steelworker by trade, had once played professional soccer in Italy. Her mother, a vibrant voice from Rosario, Argentina, brought warmth and discipline to the household. Their home was rooted in work, in routine, in quiet pride. But even then, Diana did not move in stillness. There is something about a young child who doesn't ask to be watched, who plays long past the point when parents have called them in, who dribbles a ball not for applause, but to find out what happens if she just ... keeps going. Diana was that kind of child. Even then, her backyard wasn't a court. It was a patch of pavement lined by fading white lines and a makeshift basket that received countless offerings. Her sneakers wore grooves into the concrete. Her fingers were almost always wrapped around rough leather. The neighborhood would fall quiet, kitchens steaming, televisions glowing, and her rhythm would continue, the beat of a beginning. Her older sister Jessica was often nearby, watching sometimes, joining sometimes, but more often just bearing witness to what would become inevitable. Jessica was her first rival, her first audience, her first gentle push to compete beyond comfort. There's a certain safety in proximity, and Diana's earliest contests were not televised. They were whispered, fought in sneakers, and sweat under the folding dusk. She was not immediately world-class. In fact, her early years were cuffed with frustration. Being told no is its own kind of training. She faced it, got cut, got overlooked. Her talent hadn't yet grown into her spine. Coaches didn't always know what to do with fire when it came wrapped in unfamiliar rhythm. But fire does not ask permission. It burns, quietly, steadily, until it is undeniable. High school shifted that story. Don Antonio Lugo High School, nestled modestly in Chino, was where the concrete echo gave way to gymnasium echoes, where Diana began stepping into her form. Her limbs finally coordinated with her vision. Her passes found shadows before defenders had even moved. She was always a student, first of angles, of patterns, of people, in every game she played. You could see it, possibility stretching out in front of her like a second court only she could see. Other kids played basketball. Diana manipulated it. Her basketball IQ wasn't written on stat sheets. It was in the glassy moment when a defense stuttered, realizing they were playing catch-up with someone who had already left the page. She led Don Lugo to prominence, earned accolades, headlines, but she remained, quietly, the obsessive engine behind it all. When most left the gym, she stayed. When games ended, her studying didn't. She watched film not to admire her brilliance, but to dissect her flaws. If she beat you by 10, she wanted to know why she didn't beat you by 20. Her parents, lovingly approving but wary of spotlight, watched with a quiet pride. They had come to America seeking stability. Instead, they had given birth to a comet. By the time she reached the elite youth circuit, the AAU battlegrounds where future stars collide, Diana was no longer a local phenom. She was spoken about in hushed tones. Of course, there was buzz, highlights, coaches calling across state lines, but buzzy headlines were not what shaped her. Instead, it was the feeling of still being behind, still lacking. She played like every gym was full of people who doubted her, and every rim was a door waiting to be knocked down. There's a story from those years, not grand, not spectacular, but telling. A teammate recalls Diana missing a crucial lup in a summer game. Everyone groaned, some laughed. She didn't react, just ran back on defense, eyes ahead. After the game, while the team mulled around near vending machines, Diana asked the coach for the key to the gym. She shot free throws until her hands blistered. She wasn't chasing approval. She was chasing certainty. It's easy, looking back, to trace a linear path. Small town, talent, heart, rise. But like most matter forged by pressure, hers wasn't straight. It bent. She was tempestuous, sometimes short-tempered, passionate to a fault. But in every locker room, in each huddle, she earned something rarer than popularity, belief, and yet, for all the signs whens that pointed unmistakably toward the future, her beginnings were still wrapped in dreaming. Diana had an unrelenting belief that greatness wasn't a possibility, it was an expectation, not because she deserved it by birthright, but because she was willing to bleed to deserve it later. She watched NBA tapes, studied guards with surgical eyes, Stockton, Jordan, later Allen Iverson. But she didn't mimic their flair. She mimicked efficiency, their prescience, their footwork, that calm stutter before a cross, the flicker of decision that came milliseconds before anyone else could answer. As her name grew taller in recruiting circles, something peculiar happened. Diana stayed quiet. Her goals, her fire, her faith, they were all contained. Never arrogant, rarely boastful, but humming always beneath the surface. Her coaches often said that what moved her wasn't victory, it was understanding. She exploded in her final high school seasons, dropping point totals that made newspapers strain for adjectives. She faced teams that double and triple teamed her. Some courted whole defenses just to slow her down. None of it mattered. She moved like wind seen only by the rustling she left behind. By the time the University of Connecticut came calling, she wasn't just wanted, she was needed. Gino Auriemma, a kingmaker in his own right, had seen many greats. But watching Diana move through a game was like watching a language no one else had learned yet. A rhythm both ancient and brand new. She accepted their offer. It felt right. Not for the glory, but for the grind, as she packed for the East Coast. Ready to swap Los Angeles sunsets for wintry stores, mornings. She did it without a send-off. No grand celebration. Only a quiet moment in her old driveway. One more shot. One more swish. The net flickered against the dusk wind. The story that began in a cracked yard and scraped knees was ready to widen. And somewhere, beneath the million stories swirling through basketball's veins, ... a whisper began to turn into a roar, silently, steadily, unmistakably hers. By the time Diana Taurasi stepped onto the hardwood of the University of Connecticut, the name already carried weight. Not expectations exactly, those were inevitable, but something denser. A quiet buzz that moved ahead of her. Coaches could feel it. Teammates tried not to measure themselves against it, but it hung there, always hanging, and she carried it like breath. Gino Orima remembers that first practice, how she played without apology, how, even then, she'd fight every screen, brush off every cut with a flick of her shoulder, plant and pivot with that practiced stillness that hid a riotous fire underneath. She wasn't rude, but she wasn't deferent either. There was nothing performative in her confidence. It was worn like sneakers, broken in, familiar, inevitable. Not everyone loved it. Freshman year was not without friction. Diana didn't arrive at UConn to be taught how to be gratefully, how to refine it. That rubbed some raw. Teammates, upperclassmen, even Gino himself, recall her fire, pointed comments in practice, smirks that dared criticism to come closer. But it became clear to everyone, almost too quickly, that her defiance wasn't ego, it was fuel. Her freshman season opened the Dora champion team with a new star in waiting. But it wasn't until sophomore and junior campaigns that Taurasi's story began to carve into myth. The game came into synchrony with her body. She saw every mismatch, every hesitation, before the moment demanded it. When she hit threes, they stayed hit. When she crossed someone, it felt like punctuation, never flair for flair's sake, but motion sharpened into precision. There was a calmness in her cruelty on the court, that quiet that filled the gym before opponents could realize they'd been rendered irrelevant. UConn won the national championship in 2002, then again in 2003, and again in 2004. 3 straight years of supremacy, with Diana at the core not just as a scorer, but as a presence. Gino was once asked why UConn kept winning during those years, and he answered simply, "We have Diana, and you don't." She averaged over 16 points a game during her college career, but numbers couldn't track gravity. She didn't just affect games, she dominated the speed of games, controlled the oxygen around them. Opponents adjusted, rotations shifted, but it didn't matter, because the ball found her hands with 12 seconds left and sighed in relief. If relieved to know where to go, her teammates learned to build around it, not with resentment, but recognition. There is an order to things when a defining player is among you. And unlike some stars, Diana didn't hoard spotlight. She absorbed pressure, leaving space for everyone else to breathe. There's a memory players carry from those years. Bus rides, early January mornings, winding through cold New England. Diana sitting toward the back, headphones in, legs up, not sleeping, just watching out the window or past the rim of her imagination. They couldn't always tell. Her mode was stillness, but something inside her was always running. Off the court, she was dry-witted, private, relentlessly loyal to those within her circle. On road trips, she slept with game film queued beside her, her notebooks packed with mini diagnoses, notes on opposing players, weak hands, defensive gaps, like a doctor who wrote down symptoms just to prove she'd already imagined the cure. UConn's dynasty run reached a kind of celestial rhythm by 2004. That year, Taurasi delivered in moments when it mattered most, breaking open tight games, bringing her team back when others began to fade. A final title, 3 straight, and UConn's place in history sealed alongside hers. But college ended with an echo, not a climax, because before the celebrations even faded, eyes had already turned. WNBA draft was imminent. So was Athens, in the summer of 2004. Diana played her first Olympics. She was just 22, already a 3-time NCAA champion, already the subject of countless articles citing her as a generational talent. But the Olympic stage introduced her to the stratosphere of pressure in a new way. Suddenly, she shared the floor with legends Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Dawn Staley, and yet, again, she did not shrink. She adjusted, not by dominating immediately, but by observing, absorbing, understanding. She let herself blend into the perimeter of greatness until she belonged in its center. That team won gold in Athens. Diana wasn't its centerpiece, not yet, but she began to lay a quieter claim, a piece of the puzzle that seemed uncontainable in time. Back at home, the Phoenix Mercury held the first overall pick in the 2004 WNBA draft. The decision was obvious. Diana's college accolades trailed behind her like a cape. National Player of the Year, Final Four, MVP, 3-time NCAA champion. But Phoenix didn't just want a scorer. They wanted a culture shift, a shift in belief, in how a team carries itself. They chose her. She smiled for cameras. She shook hands. And behind that polite, polished veneer of draft night, a new reckoning gathered its strength. Because with Taurasi, greatness never asked for welcome. It simply arrived. Phoenix does not wait for rain. It knows heat intimately. The kind of heat that sinks into your skin and lives there. It is a testing, ground dry, pensive, relentless. And in the summer of 2004, a new kind of fire arrived. One with a soft voice, and searching eyes and a handle that carried galaxies. Diana Taurasi entered the WNBA like a storm walks into a valley, not with noise, but with density. Everyone looked up. Everyone adjusted. Her rookie season with the Phoenix Mercury was not paved with immediate triumph. The WNBA, quicker and heavier than college ball, offered no deference. The physicality surprised even her. Screens hit harder. Defenders pressed deeper. Every angle she once trusted had to be recalibrated. And still, she averaged nearly 17 points a game. What people noticed first, though, wasn't the scoring. It was the glare. She stared down veterans, glared after fouls, jawed at refs. Her game came complete with a sharp tongue fire encased in icy resolve. Phoenix didn't just receive a new star. They inherited a new tempo. And with her arrival, expectations began to take shape. The Mercury floated in transition in those early years. Wins came in bursts, losses in weightier stretches. Diana remained grounded by her daily repetitions, shooting drills programmed into muscle memory, hours of study. But always, there was a sense that something was just out of reach. The right roster, the right timing, the right ignition. That ignition finally sparked in 2007. By then, Taurasi was no longer a rising name. She was one of the few navigating at full altitude. Phoenix, powered by Diana, Cappie Pondexter, and Penny Taylor, surged through a season defined by playmaking and pace. Paul Westhead's run-and-gun offense was more experiment than blueprint. Diana made it gospel. They played fast, shot faster, broke games open in relentless tempo bursts that left defenders looking for air. Diana thrived as both architect and assassin. Her averages climbed. Her confidence swelled, but never spilled. That summer brought Phoenix its first WNBA championship. The final buzzer brought validation, not just for the city, but for the journey itself. After 3 years of toil and temper, Taurasi raised her arms not in loud triumph, but in acceptance. She had come to win. Now she had, but the fire wasn't constant ease. Diana's career would never be mistaken for smooth edges. She collected technical fouls like box scores, sometimes 8 or 9 in a single season. The league office sent reminders. Fans grew divided. Was she too brash, too emotional, too sharp? Inside locker rooms, though there was never doubt, her teammates didn't fear. Her edge, they trusted it, believed it was calibrated. A barometer. If Diana was shouting, it was time to respond. If Diana was silent, something was deeply amiss. She was not built to entertain. She was built to win. Off seasons, Diana traversed the globe not chasing curiosity, but compensation. The economic disparity between the WNBA and overseas leagues drove many of its biggest stars abroad. Taurasi signed with UMMC Yekaterinburg in Russia, where million-dollar contracts awaited, along with 6-hour practices and expectant oligarchs. The adjustment was stark, cold in every sense, language barriers, cultural gulfs, a different kind of pressure, quiet, affluent, unrelenting. Some players thrived, others retreated. Diana embedded. She studied Russian, walked icy sidewalks with headphones tucked beneath beanies. And on the court, she was devastating. Her international career became not just supplementary, but foundational. She developed an even deeper scoring arsenal, tested herself anew, and gathered trophies across 2 continents. Russian coaches marveled. Her teammates followed, but Europe demanded a toll. It wore at bodies, chiseled at ligaments. The winters were long, the expectations quieter but no softer. In 2015, the tax became too much. Despite being healthy, Taurasi sat out the entire WNBA season, urged by Yekaterinburg, who paid her salary far beyond what Phoenix could offer. She cited rest, longevity, economics, but her absence sparked legal reflection. If its brightest light had to dim for survival, what did that say about the system? When she returned, it was with force. 2009 had already revealed peak Taurasi. That year, she earned her first regular season MVP, averaging nearly 21 points, leading Phoenix to another title. The Mercury played like a mirage, blindingly fast, impossible to catch. Diana led the league in scoring that year, and yet what made her season unforgettable was not just how much she scored. It was when fourth quarters, elimination games, overtime's moments when breath shortened and legs grew heavy. She was sharper, stronger, freer, and she did it all with that signature presence that walked back to the huddle with eyes half squinted, as if seeing something no one else could. That slight sway of her jersey, as though confidence lived not in her muscles but in the air around her. Kobe Bryant watched from courtside once and dubbed her the White Mamba, not because of mimicry, but mutual recognition. They saw the game similarly through heat, through silence, through obsession, and in that nickname lived something deeper, a reverence not just for skill, but mindset. Diana was never cute in her destruction. She was clinical, and her flame never needed to flicker. It could burn steady, burn years. The fans knew, Phoenix knew, the overseas clubs knew. The world began to whisper what had long felt inevitable. In a game built around moments, Taurasi had become a constant. Still, fire is not without consequence. Years of repetition, of impact, of movement. These build wisdom, but they also bring caution. The price of playing at that level begun to knock. But that's a story for later. Because in this chapter, Diana isn't reflecting. She's flying, threading needles through shrinking defenses, splitting double teams with instinct and release, taking that extra half dribble to pull defenders. into orbit, then launching without apology. She never asked you to like her game, only to survive it. There's a moment, late in the summer of 2021, when Diana Taurasi, nearing 40, nursing injuries past, naming tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and lifts her eyes toward the rafters in Tokyo. A gold medal swings at her chest. Her fifth, and Sue Bird, the other half of an era, stands beside her. They don't speak, they don't need to, because some legacies are built not in volume, but in rhythm, in repetition, in the echo of metal against quiet pride. They would leave the floor that day together, as they had entered it, as they had willed it. Shoulder to shoulder, bookends, in a dynasty that redefined what longevity looks like when stitched with defiance and grace. For Diana, the Olympics weren't milestones. They were mirrors. Every 4 years, she met another version of herself, the rookie in Athens, the warrior in London, the elder stateswoman in Tokyo. Each chapter added gold to her name, but more than that, each measured how her fire learned to flicker differently. Where once there had been explosion, now there was command. The younger players arrived, Reverend Diana noticed. They whispered before they spoke around her, watched how she laced her shoes, how she broke into her shot, motion in warm-up. What they didn't always see but felt was the cold calm she brought to huddles when the air tightened. That's where greatness lives longest. Not in dominance, but in distribution. And Diana distributed belief. Back home, the WNBA was catching up to her gravity. The league had entered a new waiver generation birthed from her highlight tapes. Shooters coming in with deeper range, guards playing with sharper tongues, players citing her as blueprint. Unabashedly, but Diana didn't recede. She rose again. The 2017 season arrived with little promise and even less prediction. Injuries had touched nearly everything: ankles, wrists, a back tightened by years of relentless talk. The Mercury team around her had changed, rebuilt, grown younger. And yet, they made a run, an unlikely surge deep into the postseason. And there, threaded through the acceleration of it all, was Diana again, hitting daggers, pointing skyward, pulling plays into existence that should not have been possible with the wear she carried. It wasn't youth propelling her. It was precision. And there was someone new in the stands, to dot Penny Taylor. Her longtime teammate and partner, now her wife, had stepped into a different role beside her, and between them soft, swaddled, blinking into the noise a child. There. Son, Diana had become a mother. She cradled him like a secret, carefully, fiercely. Becoming a parent did not mellow her, but it reframed the cost of her pursuit. Time, once endlessly borrowed, felt precious now. Post-game interviews bore a new lens. Fans saw her smile more, but her competitive flame, untouched. If anything, it blazed brighter because now it burned. For more than reputation, there is a quiet story behind every roar. While cameras fixated on podiums and box scores, Diana showed up for the bruised rookies, the wavering middles of the bench, the teammates who didn't know yet if they belonged. She pulled them close, behind closed gym doors. She mentored Brittany Griner, taught her not just moves, but mindset, spoke bluntly, held her accountable, protected her to outsiders. People called Diana intimidating. Maybe, but only if you mistook her standards as selfish. Inside the Mercury organization, her name was sacred for different reasons. It meant honesty, consistency, a guarantee that when the lights burned hot and the world tilted, she was the compass. Still, the story the media painted sometimes blurred the edges. To some, Taurasi was too harsh, too sarcastic, too stone-faced in the face of defeat, too unwilling to soften for public consumption. But those narratives never quite fit, because to know her wasn't to fear her hit, was to understand that her loyalty had teeth, and her silence had weight. Teammates recall the rare nights she pulled them aside not to correct, but to listen, to absorb their doubt and offer, in her quietly clipped way, an anchor. "You're here for a reason," she'd say. 5 words, enough. She kept a small circle, trusted few, but for those inside it, she was Olin. Birthdays remembered, injuries checked on, coaching tips whispered. She refused to babysit, but she refused to let you sink either. Injury years came like soft winter fog, slowly, then all at once. Surgeries stacked. Comebacks became more layered, and still, Diana adapted, moved to the arc more, let the younger guards absorb contact, while she shifted into Sage. Her shot remained deadly as before, her vision sharpened, and through it all, the league kept offering her the keys, because stars fade, but legends are ECALIBRATE. By her late 30s, she wasn't just still playing, she was still feared, and among stat chasers and social reels, she kept something older, alive, a reverence for craft over flash, for repetition over reinvention. Her footwork, lazy to some eyes, held phantoms. One crossover, one step, space, shot. Swish. The gym didn't roar anymore. It sighed because Diana's brilliance was no longer in ascension. It had become a constant hum, one that vibrated under the floorboards of arenas, hiding behind creaking knees and endless tapings, refusing to be silenced. Only softened, only refined. They said age would catch her. She said, "Catch me first." The body has rules. It keeps receipts. For every mile run under the weight of expectations. For every fall absorbed by joints now long past their first collision. For every season stretched beyond what seemed reasonable. The truth is, the game moves always. But what happens when so many seasons live inside you that your motion slows but your mind doesn't? By the late 2010s, Diana Taurasi was no longer a marvel for what she could do. She was a legend for how long she'd continued doing it. The difference is subtle, but important. In 2019, that line between present and past blurred for the first time in too long. Her back, the quiet hinge upon which so many years had turned, finally staggered. A surgery followed. Rehabilitation. Delayed returns that kept dragging their feet in the sand of scheduling. For the first time in her professional life, the question echoed not from outside noise but from within. Could she come back and be her? She tried, played in snippets. Moments where the old rhythm returned, the flick shot, the arched footwork, the swept zip of a pass threaded through chaos. But the bursts didn't last. Something sputtered, and then 2020 arrived, the season. No one could prepare for. A league suspended into contingency. Revived inside the wobble, a single-site season in Florida, built under the shadow of pandemic and protest. Players faced not only risk, but rawness. Isolation inside bubbles that held more than sweat. They held pain, collective grief, uncertainty. Tauras. I arrived not as a headliner, but as a pillar. Her voice in meetings, steady. Her position, direct. Off the court, she spoke less. Let her actions read louder. On court, though, there was motion again. Maybe. Not the relentless engine of earlier years, but a discernment to her play less about explosion, more about incision. Phoenix scraped and climbed that year. Another playoff run. Another reminder that Diana hadn't just returned, she had recalculated. Then came the Tokyo Olympics. A year. Stripped of crowds, haunted by the silence of empty arenas. For most, the strangeness of competition without echo felt unnerving. For Diana, it felt familiar. She thrived in silence. Always had, where the only rhythm lived in squeaking shoes and breath bounced off linoleum. That summer, she and Sue Bird made history. 5 gold medals, a record matched by no others in the sport. And yet, it never felt like a conclusion, more like an exhale as Diana accepted her medal. She didn't cry. She looked forward, because one day the game will walk past you. Slowly at first, then quickly, but for now, it lingered, stayed near her, because of what she still knew, what she could still teach. The press asked about her legacy. She shrugged. "I'll know when it's time," she said, "but it's not today." Her return to Phoenix, now deep into her 30s, bore less fanfare and more reverence. The locker room had changed again, faces younger, energy looser. But to them, Taurasi wasn't just a teammate. She was an institution, and still, she led. Not always with volume, but with brevity. A glance, a 2-word correction, a shoulder tap mid-timeout that gave a rookie just enough belief to take the next shot without apology. Then, 2023 arrived. Years had stacked. Narratives, too. The headlines grew more fixated on minutes managed, stats per aging body. But Diana never chased headlines. She chased the details. And in August of that year, on a warm Phoenix night, those details aligned. 10,000 points. No one had ever done it in WNBA history. 10,000 times. The ball left her hand and found its target. A landmark not measured in spotlight, but in persistence. In logging in day after day. In walking to practice when the knees whispered no. In choosing to remain as the crowd stood cheering, weeping. Mouthing the number over and over. Diana didn't signal for a curtain call. She didn't fall to her knees or raise her arms skyward. She pointed a finger to the rafters for the fans, just once. Then walked back to the bench. Achievement, for her, had always been quieter than most could hear. The game had changed. Styles shifted. But Diana's compass hadn't a harsh internal precision that told her greatness was not a peak, but a position. To be defended, even now. What does it mean to play for this long? Not just exist, but still matter. For Diana Taurasi, it means the work eclipses the applause. It means still taping your ankles while your child colors beside you. It means studying film under the flicker of sleep. It means embracing that the game owes you nothing, even after all you've given, and still showing up, unbending, unbowed. She could have walked away years ago with gold, with titles, with greatness assured, but walking away was never the point. Because for Diana, there is no outside of the game. There's just ... the next moment, the next pass, the next myth waiting to be written, not loudly, but in the smallest of turns, the tiniest display of will. Some players get compared to stars. Diana Taurasi gets compared to constellations. There isn't a singular path to greatness, and no one ever mistook Diana's for a straight one. But in watching her over 2 decades, there's a through line that refuses to dim. Her game has gone from flashpoint to folklore. Her silhouette on a court now feels like a watermark, subtle but undeniable. Every new generation finds themselves in the gravity of what she left behind. People have tried to define her with names that stretch large and loud. Kobe, MJ, Bird. Names with decades and dynasties stitched into their legacy. Diana is mentioned. Among them, not for mimicry, not for stat sheet symmetry, but because of something deeper woven into her play. A refusal to yield. A demand to be reckoned with. She didn't pattern her career after Kobe Bryant's, but the overlap still danced around their stories. Killer instinct, ice-veined clutch plays. The desire not simply to win, but to control the terms of every battle. He called her the white mamba, not an echo, but an equal. Where he curved through chaos, she sliced through it. Teammates past and present carry stories the public never sees. Like the way she would show up early, not just to shoot, but to watch. Not tape of herself, but of whoever she'd guard next. A sixth-year journeyman, a number one pick, didn't matter. They'd be studied the same dot. Or the way she spoke during timeouts, not always loud, never frantic, but direct. She didn't fill space to prove her value. She filled silences with the one sentence that turned doubt into function. She'd say the thing, said one player, that we all couldn't name. And suddenly, the play made sense again. And then there are the moments, the ones carved onto highlight reels, bursting with buzzer beaters and last gasp threes. But more than the shot sits, the stare after. Not angry, not celebratory, just certain, as if she'd seen the ending before the game ever tipped off. It wasn't always smooth. She got into it with refs, with fans, even with teammates. That temper didn't flare, it simmered. Her frustration wasn't frivolous, was precise. When she shouted, it was often at execution that fell short, not effort. When younger players received it, it sometimes stung. But then she'd walk over. Hours later, maybe say 3 words. "You good, rookie?" That was the contract. She would push you, maybe too hard. But if you pushed back and committed, she'd stand in front of you no matter what came. People tried to label her difficult, intimidating, aloof. But those who actually played with her knew better. Their language around her sounded different. Words like loyal, protector, unshakable. Coaches used to say she played like she saw shadows. Not the players in real time, but the outline of where they'd be half a second before they arrived. It's how she stole passes no one saw leave the hand. It's how she found shooters before they even realized they were open. During the 2021 playoffs, with broken bones in her foot, she played through what would sideline most, not because it was noble, but because she had always framed pain differently. "If I can move," she once said, "I can play." That series saw her deliver 2 of the most remarkable fourth quarters in league history. She limped, yes, but then she rose, hit shot after shot. And when opposing coaches prepped scouts, the direction was always the same. Just don't let her touch the ball, as if that were an option. Even as her impact shifted from centerpiece to keeper of momentum, her myth thickened. Not as the highest scorer in a given night, but as the force behind a team's belief that they even could. Because if Diana was on your side, then every tight game started tilted slightly yours. You believed because she never doubted. After 2 decades, her name is no longer just an athlete's, it's part of basketball's coded language. You don't have to explain it anymore. Kids wear her jersey, not because she's trending, but because she made confidence feel earned, and because, maybe, they'll be in a driveway one day, moonlight bouncing off asphalt, and a voice inside will whisper the same rhythm she carried all along. You're here for a reason, and some stories, just by existing, become legend. The gym is quiet now. Not silent, never truly silent, but settled. The light bulbs buzz softly in their sockets. A lone basketball rolls lazily across the polished floor, slowed only by friction, then resting where sideline meets stillness. They say you know when it's time, but what happens when your presence has become the measure of time itself? Somewhere in the archives of memory, a grainy clip plays. Diana Taurasi walking calmly to the free throw line, her face unreadable, always just ahead of the moment, calm even as the crowd holds its breath for her. The ball in her hands. One bounce, then two. The rustling lull before emotion as practiced as prayer. Maybe that's how you remember her. Or maybe it's the grin after the dagger three. The way she ran back on defense, already knowing the shot had landed. No show, no shout. Just a player who had been here before and would be here again. But the truth is, Taurasi isn't one moment. She's all of them. The whole loop. The open court in transition. The tired legs willing one more cut. The sharp pass no one saw coming. The glance over her shoulder, reading more than defenses reading the story of the game itself. You can trace her in the shadows, on hardwood across continents, in gyms lit by flickering overheads, beside players growing up in a league still, learning how to honor its roots. Her fingerprints are not just on the ball, they on the culture, on the rhythm, on the belief that a woman could be the face of a franchise, a league, a movement and not shrink beneath it. Time pushes even the grandest careers into memory. Statues settle. Jerseys hang above arenas where new names begin. There will be a day when Diana Taurasi no longer suits up, when her locker is empty, her name on the roster replaced by someone younger, someone hungry, but her presence won't. Leave because some legacies don't exit, they echo. They linger in the drills run by coaches who once watched her play. In the high school gyms where the next young girl practices a pull-up jumper in the fading light, repeating a name she heard spoken like a mantra. Diana. Baby, that player won't have seen all the minutes, the gold medal games, the vintage Mercury runs. Maybe they won't remember her voice at the podium or the curve of her shot's finish, but they will feel it, just as you do now, because somewhere, someone is lacing up their sneakers for the first time. And the path, wide and treacherous and beautiful, has already been shaped, quietly, steadily, by a woman who never needed to ask for space, but took it anyhow. Long after the final whistle, these echoes remain. A gym with the lights off, but a ball still in motion. A highlight reel playing softly in another room while a mother rocks her child to sleep. An old interview. The audio crackling slightly, with Diana's voice clipped and sure. Just do the work. And perhaps that's it. Not an ending, just the work. Done so fully, so completely, that even in rest, it moves others to rise. Somewhere beneath it all the points, the passes, the seasons there is that same girl, still bouncing a ball against a cracked driveway, still chasing something she can't quite name, still lighting the path, and disappearing into the hum. A whisper of the game dead and finished. Unfinished hours.